Yep.
Wonderful.
All
Okay.
good.
Well, I am so happy to be here. My name is Terry Luschen. I'm calling from up near Fargo, North Dakota. So here's a map of the U.S. So I'm up here. It does get very cold in the winter up here. So we've barely started summer up here. I'm here to talk from Proficient about Marketing Cloud. I'm gonna get to my deck here, and I'm gonna buzz through a couple of slides. I'm gonna go through pretty quick because I heard people want this call to be technical, right? Like, what is Marketing Cloud? Where do you create your emails? Where do we do our queries in there? What can we do with it? Because a lot of people don't get to work with Marketing Cloud very much, right? Usually we're doing Sales Cloud or Service Cloud or Experience Cloud. Those are on the core platform. So today we're going to talk about Marketing Cloud, which is a big part of our practice. We do a lot of work within Marketing Cloud. So we're going to talk about that. So this is me, been around 20 years. I have like 18 certs. Like, this is what I've done for a long time in the Salesforce space, and I really love it, and working with the technology and most importantly, helping to grow people, right? Helping to learn. You've all seen Proficient decks. I'm not going to spend any time on that. They do all kinds of things. I think that was being explained earlier. If you need information on Proficient, the QR code is here. I put it in the chat to start. Again, we do all of these different clouds, right? But we're going to talk about Marketing Cloud here today. And again, as we go, as soon as you have questions, please ask. It'll be a lot funner the more interactive it is. We do a lot of Marketing Cloud, right? Lots of engagements, lots of certifications. We do Datarama too. So this is part of our practice, and we do it at a lot of different clients. There's manufacturing clients in here. There's healthcare clients in here. This is another manufacturing client. Manufacturing. This is a huge company in the U.S. And this is even one that we're doing right now with that's in Nashville that does country music stuff, right? So lots of different types of clients. So we're going to talk about a lot of the different studios within Marketing Cloud. I'm going to go into Marketing Cloud. We have a Marketing Cloud instance for playing in at Proficient. So if you want to get in there and look around, please just send me an email and I will get you in there. I'll give you a login to that and you can go in there and play around. So we're going to talk about these different ones here. A little bit of context, there's a lot here, but we're going to be talking about this blue box here. All the blue boxes are Salesforce owned tools, right? So this is Marketing Cloud. So we're going to look at Email Studio where you send your emails. We're going to look at Automation Studio where you do your segmentation, which is your queries. We're going to look at Mobile Studio a little bit. Social Studio has kind of gone away. We're going to look at Journey Builder, which is the powerful drag and drop interface for doing all kinds of things. Advertising is sending to Facebook or Google or paid search like that. We'll look at that for a sec. Web Studio is cloud pages, and we won't get much into Contact Builder, but we're going to touch on each one of these. I want you to see it, have a sense of what it is. Over here is where our Sales Cloud is that we're all used to working in sales service. And there's a lot of other clouds out there as you learn about the ecosystem that are all under the Marketing Cloud umbrella. There's Datarama, which they call Marketing Cloud Intelligence now for reporting. There's CDP, which they call Data Cloud now. It's a very important new cloud that's being used now. And there's Marketing Cloud Personalization, which is Interaction Studio. And actually, a lot of our strongest people, honestly, within Proficient are from the Columbia group within Proficient. They're extremely talented in this tool and are doing great work right now for another new client. So it takes all of us to get this stuff done. I won't go into this one. This is some other architecture. Maybe we'll get to talking about it. So we're going to dive in. I heard this group wanted to be technical, was developers. So we're going to talk about Email Studio, and it sends emails, right? It creates personalized emails. It should be mobile first if we do it right. and it's built to scale. These are for the largest organizations in the world, sending out millions and millions of emails every month, if for sure not every year. So I'm going to jump into Marketing Cloud itself over here. And again, you can get access to Marketing Cloud. We have our own R&D org, as this old word Sundog on. That was a company that I came to from Proficient, but I can get you in here if you're a Proficient person. So when you come into Marketing Cloud, the header is a little interesting to work with, but you just got to hover over it, and then you get all of your different studios here, right? So we're going to go over to Email Studio first, but we're just going to kind of go through these different ones, talk about what they are. I'm going to give some examples. We might run a little query in one of them. We might show you some AMP scripting code, but I want to get onto that techie side for you so you have a sense of what this is. Again, Marketing Cloud is a multi-channel tool for sending out communication. The main one is always email, right? But it can do SMS. It can push to a mobile app. So if your client has a mobile app and you want to send push notifications instead of sending an email, or you can do if statements depending which one you want to do, you can do those different things. And it can push to these advertising audiences too. You do kind of all that in Journey Builder typically, but it goes to a lot of different ones. Because one of the first questions people ask is, what's the difference between Pardot and Marketing Cloud, right? Pardot is mostly for emails, right? It's not multi-channel. That's for emails, and it does really good with that. And it has some landing pages, which are kind of like the cloud pages in here, but they are totally different tools, and they have different use cases for different customers, but there's very much a difference there. So let's dive into, I'll just kind of dive into, flip to the very thing here too. I'm in the content here, so I'm going to go to sort of jump out to here. So I'm in the email studio now, right? There's always these different tabs along the top that you can look for. There's admin things here. There's reports. So there's amazing reports in here to show you for how many sends there were, how many opens there were, how many clicks there were, right? That's kind of just all out of the box that you get. I won't dive into that right now, but that reporting's there. But a couple of the main pieces are, this is where your data kind of lives. These are data extensions is what they're called. So I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. I'll talk to this for a second. So we need to put our data into something, right, in order to send it. So just structurally, so you understand, Marketing Cloud is built on top of a SQL Server database, basically. So it's a relational database. So if you're used to SQL Server or Oracle or some relational database, you're going to feel very comfortable in here. It's actually very interesting because one of my first jobs 25 years ago was working on a SQL Server. So coming back to Marketing Cloud actually felt very, very comfortable for me. So these things are called data extensions, and it's just a table, right? That's all it is. You don't need to, it's not confusing or anything like that. So if I take some data extension here, there's different fields, right? So this is the table, and these are the fields, and then you just create it, and away you go, and you put rows in it. So when you have records in there, we'll show you the records. We can import, we can export, but it's just a table, right? So don't be scared about it that way. We'll come back to data extensions in a second. But let's go to the email itself, because that's kind of where we start. So to get to the emails, we go to content here. I'm going to drill into a specific one. There's kind of a tree for where all the emails are, and different companies, you're going to want to organize these in a nice, consistent way so that you can find things like that. And I'm going to go down here so you get this tree of things. These are some old assignments that are in here, but I want to show you that, like, here's where the emails end up living. There's different content blocks that can be put in the folders that get dragged into the emails. You want to make them reusable. We have a Proficient accelerator too to build out your base things for an email. But once to build an email, you can do create, obviously, and create a new email and stuff like that. But let's look at a couple of existing ones. So let's look at this one first, because it has a nice visual in it. Darren still works for us in Proficient, and he sits just over here. He works for Caterpillar right now. But you know, a straightforward email, once you get it open in here, when you edit it, you can change it, right? You can change the HTML. There's not CSS for that you put somewhere else, right? That applies to everything. The CSS becomes inline in here. So just so you know that little difference in there, because email development is it's a specific skill set, right? You need to know your HTML, you need to know your CSS, but rendering emails in the different browsers or on your phone or whatever you're going to do, this is some specific learning there to make it work properly. So just so you know there. When you're in here, you can get to the code view and you can start seeing all the different things that are in here. Let's see if I can find like this visit our website thing down here, just so you see it's just normal styling. Now we're getting into our body. Here's the Tice piece up there. Receive an email, which is this part here. You don't see, we just change it, right? You click in here and change it and stuff like that. Once it's set up, a lot of different people can change our things. And here's our link to visit our website. So our AREF is sitting right here, and right now it's just pointed to witness.com, which is a email testing tool. Just for an example, this was just somebody doing some assignments a long time ago, but that's what emails can look like. And these can be really simple. We have clients who just copy and paste some data in, and some clients who make them very personalized. There's things called AMP script in here that you can say, let's just say by gender, right? So let's say you're sending to a male, you want to have a picture of the guy in there. If you're sending to a female, you want another picture in there, or by age, right? So I just turned over 50. You want to send me a picture of someone not running quite so fast anymore, right? And then somebody else if somebody's younger, but you can really personalize here. So let's go back to this one. I'll show you what that AMP script is. So this is when you start doing that work, you can look up the data from the data extensions. Remember, we talked about the data extensions, those tables. You can look it up and then use that in your email, because the email is being driven by a data extension in the rows that are in it. So if I want to edit this one, just to get to that, some of that code there. This is what's called AMP script. So there is, and I'll bring this up just for a second, there's a whole thing out on Marketing Cloud here. I can put this in chat actually, if I can find the chat while this is up. I might not be able to. Not going to be able to get to that right now. Unless I go over here in a second. Sharing chat here. So like this is your AMP script page. There we go. So that's what that is. So this, you have variables in here, right? You can set different things that you want to do, and then this is where you start bringing data in from a data extension to do stuff. So the point of this thing was that, let's say we wanted to look up show the different products that you've already ordered, right? So we would have a table, the data extension. We can use the email that's coming through here or the subscriber key to find your products that you recently ordered. We can do a lookup rows, which will read, the rows out of the data extension for this specific person, and then we can loop through those rows. We can put them into the email. That's kind of how you build it out. You kind of expect that in emails now, right? You have some base information, then you have your different things that you've ordered, or maybe things that you should order, right? As things like that. So that's kind of what this AMP script looks like. It ends up having these kind of tags around it. So you are coding in here to make them really cool and very personalized. I'm going to pause here just for a sec in case there's some question that's at the top of your mind, or else I'm going to go into these other areas here. But any questions right now? I'm going to try to watch the chat too.
have a question. Just a second. Okay, I will read the first question. If the data from Marketing Cloud lives in a relational database, how it's connected to Salesforce options?
Very good question. So that's the cool power of Marketing Cloud, right? And how it's connected to Sales Cloud. So I'm going to go back to this diagram just for a sec. And this line here called Marketing Cloud Connect, right? So any data, your accounts, your contacts, your custom objects will seamlessly sync over here into what's called a synchronized data extension. So you're over here, and I don't have it connected in this one, so I can't show you, but it's really easy. You go into this screen in Marketing Cloud. Actually, if I went to this, if I had it connected, because this is kind of a special one, right? I'm not allowed to do everything you're going to do, but when you go into Contact Builder, which is an important, it's basically a relational database thing. There's these data sources, and you set up your Salesforce one with synchronized data. And I don't have it right here, but this is really simple. Imagine it just said Salesforce, and you click on it. Then you can add in any of the objects you want to come down. So you just pick on the account object, and you pick your fields, and it will create a synchronized data extension for you. Same thing with contact or leads, it all comes down for you. So what starts to happen actually then is from your website, if you can picture the whole thing happening, from your website, we all have like web to lead type concepts, right, that are happening. So you, in your website, like Sitecore, you have your lead created. It's going to come down and put that as a lead here in Salesforce. And then immediately, it won't sync this thing here, but Journey Builder can listen for that insert of that lead record and then can immediately send out an email. So it gets all connected right away, and you actually didn't have to code anything. It's all synchronized together. Yeah, for how it's connected to the Salesforce object. So that's how we bring it down. And now what's really cool is once the data is down here in Marketing Cloud, your accounts, your contacts, now you can write SQL queries against that data. And it's not a SQL query, right? Like we're used to writing. It's actually more a typical relational database query. So I can do a group by or a having clause or a distinct or something like that. And then I can do stuff with it here, which is very powerful because now I can work on millions of records instead of, in Sales Cloud, sometimes when we write queries, we have to be really careful, right? Or they might time out. And then consuming the data in the AMP script, that next question, yes, that the data needs to get into the data extension so that you can have your different columns to work against, again, whether that's age or zip code or something like that you want to do an if statement on in the AMP script. So very good questions here. I can tell we got a good technical crowd. Let's see. I'm going to flip back over. We're going to talk about the next one. So let's talk about, I think I was going to go right into Journey Builder because that's the next best time. So here we go. I have it up. So again, if you wanted to go to Journey Builder, you got to do that hover over thing, right? You just go over here to Journey Builder and you click on that. So I'm in here. I'm going to look at a couple of these journeys. So when Marketing Cloud originally existed with Exact Target, it didn't have everything, right? It's been built on a lot, and Journey Builder was one of those things that came. So it's this drag and drop UI of doing different things. So this journey is starting actually from an API event. It could start from an API event. If you need to do things like that, it can be from just a data extension. It can be from Automation Studio, but somehow you're going to kick off this journey. And that just means there's records coming in, right? I want to send these emails or do these things or send these SMS messages. You can have different weights in here. This would be an email that you're going to send. And I brought this one up because it has like a decision split in here again. So like, let's say you wanted to decide things. So if somebody had never ordered a product before, maybe you want to send a certain email. And then if they have ordered a product before, we want to send a different email because it's a returning customer. So you can do all of these cool flows or kind of splits in here, right? There's no flows in Marketing Cloud, just, there's other tools in here that for that word can be confusing, but this is how these things work. I was going to show a couple other ones. So that's there. This one shows the example of how you can actually send to an ad campaign again too. Let's say you built a data extension and you wanted to send all those people to Facebook to do a lookalike audience or a non-lookalike audience or to Google Ads or something. You can create a journey to do that. So you create a journey, it's pointing at a data extension, and those people are going to go over to that ad campaign in here. Again, it's multi-channel. And the last one I wanted to show, I'm starting to go a little bit faster because I know we only have so much time. As you could tell, I could talk for years and hours in here. But this one, what I wanted to show, this comes from a data extension. Again, this is a journey. So this email gets sent out. But what's very powerful in here is that there are things called engagement splits here. And this is an engagement split. And it can look at, did the user either open the email or did they click on a certain link? And then if they did one of those things, you can send a different email based on that. And you don't have to do any work to do that. Traditionally, you would do a send and then you'd write a bunch of queries and then you do another send and you do a bunch of queries. It was very manual to do stuff like this. But these engagement splits make it very easy to build a really nice branching strategy of which emails you want them to do in this journey. This is a journey of emails or communication, right? Okay, let's keep rolling. I'm going to jump over to Mobile Connect. That's another one that's in our thing here. Not all of our clients do SMS through here. They have their own tools that do it, but some do. And the ones that do, you can send the SMS from the journey also. You can also send it from Automation Studio. But this is kind of the setup window where you get, when you set it up, you have to get a short code right for doing your text messages through. So you got to get that. It gets entered here, and then you're all good to go. Sweet. And then this is where you set it up, and each country is different that way, right? Every country has their own thing on the short code versus long code and things like that. And there's kind of a cost with Marketing Cloud too. There's a thing called your Marketing Cloud contacts, which is like your number of people in here. It's your subscribers, so there's a cost associated with that. And then for every send, there's a cost too. So you might get, it's called super messages. That's the word. So like to send an email might be one super message, right? But to send an SMS message, I think in the US is like 5 to 10 super messages. And in different countries, it's a higher number. So as we work with the clients, we want to make sure that we understand how many are going to be sent out to make sure that it's manageable for costs too. Because obviously you could send out billions of SMS messages from here. It will scale like that. Let's jump over to Cloud Pages here. So what are Cloud Pages? So Cloud Pages, they show up here under Web Studio, sorry. So that's where it shows up. That's Cloud Pages. And what those are is they are landing pages, right? So I mentioned Pardot earlier too. Like Pardot has landing pages that you can stand up. HubSpot, right, has landing pages that you can set up. Any good marketing automation tool is going to have a place where you can build, quickly build landing pages that are controlled by the marketing team, right? Because you can build all of this stuff on your website, but sometimes you can't get to them, or maybe you don't have control of your website. So then you might want to build some of it here because it's really close to your data, right? Imagine now all of your Sales Cloud data is here. You can get to all of it. So when somebody's email, it says click on this, and it goes to this cloud page, this landing page, you have access to all the data. You could show them, here's all your orders, here's all your pending orders, here's all your invoices, or whatever you wanted to show them, but you have access to all that data because it's synchronized. Spam question that just came in there. You have to be very careful about the spam piece, right? So there's something called, when we start up a new one, a new instance, there's an IP warming thing that we need to go through. So we're going to send 100 emails, then 200 emails, then 500 emails. So that those IPs out there, those email IPs start to get used to you, right? So you don't send that out right away, and you send those emails to very good customers that you know are going to open them, because then Google and Hotmail and whatever, they're going to start to trust you really well, and you're always watching it. It's called your sender reputation. You want to watch for that sender reputation really good, because if it goes bad, it's really hard to make it better again, right? So in here, I wanted to show in this cloud page, this is actually a custom preference center, which is kind of a big thing. And it's going to be a little bit hard to see exactly, but typically if you're going to update your information, you could update your first name, last name, something like that. But then your preferences, here is where people want to sign up for different newsletters or publications or things like that, right? Because that's what you really want to get. You're producing content, so you're asking them, what do you want to get? Well, I want to get this newsletter. Well, how do you do that? Well, if you create a cloud page with those preferences in here, you can save that data into a data extension. Again, the data extension is just a table, right? And then we can run automations off of that table to send that newsletter, once a month, twice a month, whatever you want to do, but we can automate the whole thing so that it's just automatic. There's no manual work. But what this looks like here is, this is AMP script again, okay? So in here, when you hit submit or unsubscribe or something like that, there's this code that we can run to do this work, right? So we could talk to Sales Cloud very easily in here. We could save data to Sales Cloud. We can actually pull data directly from Sales Cloud too, or we can pull data from the data extensions and do stuff. And this is also where we unsubscribe. So down here, just for FYI about here, we said, hey, it's unsubscribe. Then we're going to make this call in here, this invoke update, and this will unsubscribe you from these emails. We all do that, right? We get an email, we don't like it, we say unsubscribe, and then it unsubscribes you from that email system. This is how you do it here. So this is actually a Proficient accelerator that we have. We can take this, and we actually just did that a week or two ago. We put it right into a client system, we customize it, and now they have a custom preference center with their own logo and everything very quickly, instead of relying on the out-of-the-box one. I'm going to pause here again. I think I'm kind of running out of time. Do I have a couple minutes left, or should I wrap up, or what do we got?
You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Okay. So I'll go ahead, just put in the chat. I do have this up nicely. I'm able to see it. When it gets, you want me to do 5 minutes or 2 minutes, just put in there, and I will I'll adjust there and go, but I'll keep going. So I got the spam one, AMP script. Yeah, I'm getting the questions. Cool. So we talked about Email Studio, right? Where we send the emails from. It can be personalized. It's very powerful. Amazing things you can do with the emails. You can even build forms in the emails now. We talked about Journey Builder, where we can do all these different sends. This is like the flow where it's very much drag and drop at this point. Automation Studio, very important piece of this, because you need to do the queries, right? Some of you might be like, where's my queries, right? I like my queries, right? That's something that I've done for a long time. So let's look at that. So where do we do these queries from and drive these processes? So if I'm in Automation Studio, which is here, so if I was looking at this again, it's over under Journey Builder. It's kind of hidden, but it's the Automation Studio. Okay, so I'm in Automation Studio. What automations are a sequence of steps to do something. right? So let's look at, I have one that I created here for dragging in some things. So a typical thing of steps, let's say that you are getting a file drop from an internal system and you should send out emails. Now you can put that data into Sales Cloud, save it there, and then it'll flow down to Marketing Cloud. It's called a journey Salesforce entry event, and it just goes into the journey with no queries. You can do that. But sometimes there's, not sure why this is, I'm gonna refresh this here. But sometimes you need to deal with files. So an example is actually, I was talking about Ryman or the Opry House. They actually don't have a Sales Cloud. So they're selling tickets, right? Because they're an event-based thing. So if Ticketmaster or some other place sells tickets, they're gonna send a file to them. It's gonna land on an FTP site, an SFTP site, and we can bring it in really easily, right? And you do that in Automation Studio. So let's say that instead of running this on a schedule, right, that there was a file drop that was going to happen, we could go here and configure that. So when that file drops, I can just grab it and go. Well, then what am I going to do? Well, then I might import the file right here. This configuration allows me to take that file and do a couple of clicks and put it into a data extension. Okay, so cool. So now I have a data extension, right, with my data into it. Then what I want to do is I want to run a query on it, right? Because maybe I only want to send it to people who bought a ticket in the last 24 hours or something, right? Or only to a certain event, right? So I can do that query. So what the queries look like is, again, it's your queries, right? What you're very used to doing. So you can do any type of query you want in here, and then you could do group by status, having count. You're not able to do these things in SQL, right? You can do pieces of it, but this is a true relational database. Again, think of it like a SQL server because that's really what's under the covers. But you have a lot of power here. You can do inner joins, you can do left joins, you can do most any SQL. It's a little bit limiting, but most SQL things that you can do in here, you can do distincts, which is also done by partition bys. But what you're doing here then is doing your query, and you might put it into a different data extension. So I'm going to go out of this. And once you put it into a different data extension, then you might connect it to a journey. So then when you're in Journey Builder, you say, I want to use this data extension right here, and it will add a thing here that says, hey, when this automation is done, then tell the journey to bring in the new records, and away you go. So it's very powerful that way, a lot of drag and drop. You got to do some queries, right? You need someone with that specialized skill. But once that's up and running, then away you go. The last thing I wanted to show in here was server-side JavaScript. So sometimes these queries can't get enough done, like you can't delete through a query, some other things like that. So you can write server-side JavaScript, and it looks like this. And the purpose of this is, let's say you wanted to loop through something and build some rules and inject it into a different data extension. Maybe a query could do it. What I'm actually doing here in this server-side JavaScript is I'm looping through, and I'm actually creating a record in Sales Cloud. So this is to create a subscriber record for one client. Let's just imagine you want to just create cases. Let's say you're getting a file from somewhere. You drop it on the SFTP site. You bring it into a data extension, and then you loop through it here with this looping code in server-side JavaScript, and you create cases for them. Very easy to do. Now, of course, you could do that with MuleSoft or some other API tool or ETL type tool, but there's a lot of power in here also to do that type of integration work if it fits your client. Server-side JavaScript is also out here. Let me just click the main thing here so you can take a peek at it. But if you're a developer, you'd understand it really quickly, but that's the SSJS. Finally, That's so much you can do in Automation Studio here. Again, this is the automation, which is kind of the shell. You put all your different steps in here, right? Here's your different steps. And then you could, all of these different steps are stored over here in the activities section over here. So all of your imports, your queries are stored in here in a folder thing. So it's very easy to get to. Last thing I wanted to show on the query side was there is something called Query Studio, which I installed very quickly. I encourage you to do it. It shows up under your App Exchange here. Once you install it, it's just free and then you can use it. But this allows you to do queries here against your data extensions or the views that are in, because there are views, it's a SQL Server, right? This is a view of all your subscribers, so it has an underscore in front of it. And then it will write out your values here. So you can test things really quickly here. I'll write all kinds of queries here, and then I'll finally save them into a query activity. With that, I'm going to go to kind of wrapping up. I can talk more, we can ask questions, but again, I'm just going to go through this. We talked about cloud pages, right? Very powerful, can be data-driven forms, very quick to stand up, but can be very complex too, especially for preference centers is very important. I talked about these accelerators a little bit. This is when we get in talking with clients and how can we get you going fast, right? We have this custom preference center accelerator. We have the email accelerator with all the nice mobile type content blocks. And we have a way of looking at the data in Sales Cloud that'll make it easy to flow into Marketing Cloud also. Because you don't want duplicates on the Sales Cloud side, or you're going to have problems on your marketing automation side. So you want to be really careful with that data. Mobile Studio we talked about, lots of things there to do. Interaction Studio we didn't talk about, but this is more with your website. It's a different tool. You do get to it through Marketing Cloud, but it's really a separate tool. It's this here personalization. And we do have a test instance of that too if you want to get in there, but that's for personalizing your website. That's the Interaction Studio from before. Extremely powerful tool. And again, like I said, our best resources are right now from out of Columbia on that. It's just crazy talented people. I will include it. So there's that. And then I'm going to click on this one, which is the survey. I did put these things in the chat. If you want to fill that out, would love to hear from you. I'm up at 5 minutes. I know from the hour I can stay a little bit later, but I'm just really happy to share. I really hope you got at least one thing out of that. So thank you. Any questions?
I think that you have a round of applause on the office, Sari. So thank you for the great session. Definitely, there's some huge content. We were discussing internally with Nico and some of the guys at the Proficient office that there's a lot. I mean, definitely 50 minutes or an hour just to talk about Marketing Cloud is not enough. Definitely, it's a whole new world. And the funny thing about Marketing Cloud, it's a complete separate cloud from Salesforce. And definitely there are different tools and different small features that are specifically related to the product. That definitely, I think this is going to be. This is not going to be the first time that we hear from you, Terry, because definitely we would like to explore more of this. Definitely this slideshow that you have right now, the slide that it shows all the different clouds, and you have Datorama and yeah, and all that stuff. I mean, definitely there every single box, it seems like just a concept here, but it's a huge thing. So definitely this is something that we would like to invite you into the future. Definitely running a quick demo, because you throw so many interesting technical concepts. I don't know about the audience, but definitely I want to see all of this stuff working on in a real demo, in a real scenario. So definitely, I think that in the future, in the short term, we will love to see all of those demos running, so we can really understand the capabilities and the real power of having Marketing Cloud working together side by side with Salesforce. So thank you, Terry. I don't know, Nico, if we have questions. I know that you have some issues with the audio over there, but definitely, I think that this was a very, very interesting and rich technical session. Nico, you.
Sorry. No, it was a great presentation, Terry. I think that, I don't know, but in my case, I have tons of questions to you, but okay, we don't have enough time. If you allow me, I just want to ask you something very quickly, and it's about the connection, how often the connection happens between the data that we have on the Salesforce side and the Marketing Cloud. Is something that we can configure easy? Is something that happens daily?
Yeah, to get the data into Marketing Cloud is very easy from Sales Cloud. I wish I had a different one up right now, but I don't. But it's really easy. You just go in and you click accounts, and you pick your fields, and you say sync, and then the data just comes over, right? You pick any objects or any custom objects you want, and then they are over in these synchronized data extensions, and then they're just tables, right? And then you just do queries against them to do whatever you want. So like Ecolab that I was working with, we synced over all their preferences, right? That we talked about. You want to have people save their preferences. And then these newsletters go out every month or so. So we just write the query to say this preference for this newsletter, and that puts it into a data extension, and then we send it off through Journey Builder. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, when you're I'm sorry, when you're opening the discussion about data synchronization, and yeah, you open that door that it will lead you to security, to compliance, and yeah, a lot of those nasty components that came up when we're talking about data. If you have customers in the European Union, well, all of the compliance thing that it's very annoying. So that definitely that's a hot topic to explore into the future, Terry. So keep that in mind for future sessions. Nico, I don't know if you have other stuff. I mean, you're with the crowd over there, but I don't know if you have any questions or something that might go to the chat. It's easier. I mean, I think there are some questions into the chat. I'm going to read, Nico, if I think it's gonna be easier. I think that someone is asking about what's the option about the social media, social studio. Terry, can you elaborate just very briefly what social studio is, and what's the actual scenario in terms of licenses?
Yeah, so Social Studio, they had bought a couple of different tools for that. There's a Radian 6 and another one. And they're just not selling that anymore. They're supporting for a little while, but you know, Social Studio would kind of like show you the posts on Facebook or the posts on Twitter or something like that, right? They're not doing that anymore, and I haven't heard they're not selling it new. So you have to buy something outside of Salesforce. If there's a good question here about what would we recommend for that, I'm not the best person to answer that. I would go to our digital marketing business unit out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and ask some people there. They're the ones who kind of do social media every day and would find the right tool for that specific customer.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Nico, I have another question. I don't know if you already mentioned this one, but it's related to Pardot. Pardot is part of the Salesforce family, but it's how it overlaps with marketing. I think that you mentioned something related to the uniqueness of Pardot just for sending emails, but is there anything else that we need to know about the Pardot and Marketing Cloud?
Yeah, so good question. They are different things, right? They're different tools, right? But they have the same concepts, right? The data is going to sync over to both of them from Sales Cloud. You can send emails to both of them. You can build landing pages on both of them, right? Pardot is, which they call, I think, engagement now. It's more thought of as a B2B type thing because the scale isn't there and you don't need as much personalization and power. Marketing Cloud is for sure like B2C when you're dealing with millions of records that need to be sent out in very complex segmentation and things like that. Marketing Cloud is the thing. On this diagram here, if you get into Data Cloud, where more and more data is going to start going in the future, the segmentation is going to start happening more and more here. So instead of doing so much of it in Automation Studio here, you're going to do more of that segmentation here because you'll have more access to your data. And then it will flow down this green line here to activate a segment. That means to send the data down to a data extension, and then you're going to do something with it. Pardot isn't on here, right? Because Pardot isn't part of this new future. It has a use. In some companies, it will work for really well. But Marketing Cloud is the enterprise big, can do anything type tool. And I'd love in future meetings, we could have one on Pardot versus Marketing Cloud or whatever else we want to talk about and dive into. Because yeah, I'm just I tried to get down deep for everyone because I wanted to make it kind of techy and get some details in here, but there's so much here to dive into and to learn about.
Well, Terry, definitely this is, there are going to be many different topics. And Nico, if you allow me, I think that I'm going to invite Terry to the Montevideo Salesforce Architect Group to talk about all of this more in-depth topics related to integrations and compliance and all that stuff related to data. Terry, thank you very much for this session. Definitely, this was great content. Again, the idea is not to be an expert in 50 minutes of Marketing Cloud, but just to be aware of the different concepts that you have. And definitely, I think that in the future, we're going to see you again. So Terry, thank you very much. I don't know, Nico, if you have anything else. If not, we can just close up this this session. We have some other messages to say, but thank you very much, and thank you, Terry, again for joining this session.
Screen okay?